Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good night, and welcome to Jazzy Conversations. I'm Teef.
And I'm Gigi.
And we're excited to be here.
Listen, thanks for checking in.
Welcome to Jazzy Conversations. I'm Teef.
And I'm Gigi.
Today,
Hey,
I'm so excited about today's interview.
Yes.
This lady, the legacy that she has carried on in regards to her mother.
Women of strength.
Oh my goodness, it's just amazing. And I don't want to tell her story yet until she comes on set, and I'll be able to kind of go into how I met her.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here sincerely in front of the world saying I'm so honored to have her on set to talk about her mother's legacy.
Glad to have a platform for her to be able to talk about this.
Breast cancer is something out there, and a lot of African American women needs to know the history. Now, I don't want to go into it because she's the professional on this area, so I want her to talk about it. So, but that's going to be exciting.
It is. I'm glad. And she's so positive. Like somebody would think, oh, this is a downer. Like this is a heavy. It's heavy, but we're going to uplift you in this conversation, right?
Yeah, and when she talks about her sister's journey and the amount of people, oh my goodness, it was my first time attending. They have this so well organized. It's amazing. I mean, 1 to 10, it was a 12. It was off the charts. I was so
I saw
impressed
the pictures. It was
and
beautiful.
so impressed in the way she handled herself, as well as her partner when they were up there on the microphone. It was just amazing, absolutely amazing. Okay, so I got about 2 minutes. I want to just do this real quick. I'm gonna throw Gigi off, okay? And you guys play as well.
I'm ready, T. It's been a while.
Tell me your favorite love story, your favorite actress,
Okay.
and your favorite car that you ever had. Real quick, 3 things. Same thing for you. Favorite love story.
Favorite love story. Okay. I think my favorite love story. You see, I'm dragging it, right? My favorite love story is.
And 5.
Oh, yeah.
4,
T, what's your favorite love
3,
story?
2.
Come on, give me yours, because we don't want to
This is the way we were.
Oh, that's lovely.
Robert Redford.
That's lovely.
Barbara Streisand.
Okay.
And yours is?
Mine is, so I love, it's Bridges of Madison County.
Ooh.
And it's one of my favorites. If you want to know more about who I am, look at that movie, get a box of Kleenex.
I love it. I love it. Favorite actress of all time?
My favorite actress of all time. I'm gonna go with of all time right now.
All time.
Of all time
your
now.
Favorite of all time.
My favorite actress of all time right now is
not when she's hot. Of all time.
Ay.
She's struggling, guys. And 5,
Oh gosh.
4, 3, 2. My favorite went to college, went to grad school in New Haven, Connecticut. Her name is Angela Bassett.
I do love me some Angela Bassett.
And yours?
I'm gonna go with it's really they're two. I'm gonna go with Viola Davis.
Viola, I love Viola.
I love her. If you haven't seen it, go see Fences.
There you go.
Rent it. Go see. She's amazing.
G.
Yes.
Your favorite car that you've ever owned or you enjoy driving. Don't have to be whatever you enjoy
my favorite
driving.
car that I've ever owned was a hoopty, and it was a rust bucket, but it was my favorite car because it was my first car.
That's what I was about to say. My first car.
You know, yeah.
It was
it was a Honda, and it was gray and it was rusty, and I had to check all my gauges all the time.
You're a real one.
I'm a real one.
I love it.
Yeah. How about you?
My favorite car is my very first car in college.
Yeah.
It was a Chevrolet Cavalier Z24, and I had the bra on it. And I would drive that car from New Haven, Connecticut, back to Ohio, from Ohio back to New Haven, Connecticut, and that was my baby. G,
yes.
You ready for today's show?
You know I am.
All right. On behalf of Jazzy Conversations, I'm Teef.
And I'm Gigi.
I hope you guys are ready. You ready? Here we go. Welcome to Jazzy Conversations. I'm Teef.
And I'm Gigi.
And G, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to see Dawn White-Bracey on the screen. Dawn, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I just finished telling G offline.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this interview, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Let me just give a little background real quick, and
Yeah.
please jump in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've spoke to you off camera. I Forgive me. I had never heard of the sister's journey,
I have, yes.
and a lot of people say, "Are you crazy, Teef?" Everyone knows about that. I'm like so out of it. I apologize, but when I went to your event about 3 weeks ago, Dawn, as I told you off camera, I was floored. It was immaculate, professional. The stories of the ladies that was speaking from the heart, the atmosphere was, I mean, so amazing. And I just want to congratulate you and your team of the job that you guys do. I mean, it was amazing, Dawn. It was amazing. So,
Thank you.
oh,
Thank you.
it was yourself, your partner, who was doing a lot of speaking at the end. You guys did an amazing job. Looking forward to going back to celebrate next year in regards to just, I mean, it's something I know about now. I told Gigi about it off camera.
Yes. He was sending me pictures from the event.
I truly was. And Dr. Ed Joyner, as you know, is a big fan of the show. He support us. And he said, if you can get Dawn on this show, it would mean a lot to me. She's like a daughter to me. And she has an amazing story. And after I attended, I said, "Are you kidding me? I would do anything to get her on this show."
Right.
So,
And I've heard I mean, you're the work that you do in the community, it goes before you. Like, people know about this work. I was able to say, listen, it's a heavy topic, but this is going to be uplifting because the work that you do is so inspiring to so many.
Oh, well, thank you. And then, Chief, you just mentioned coming back next year. Does that mean I have to do it again?
no.
Like, that was not on the agenda,
but so Dawn, we're gonna go through the process, and I want you to speak about your mom's legacy as well as yours. But before, please, people that's tuned in, please stay tuned in. This is a very important topic. So if you're tuning in from California, Ohio, Philadelphia, Temple University, wherever you're tuning in from, please do not tune off. Please listen to this. It's very important. She has an amazing story to tell. Okay? All right. So, Dawn, we're going to go back to the beginning. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you're from, your background, and we're going to lead up to how this all started.
Okay. So I was born in New Haven, probably raised in Hamden, because I live in Hamden now and lived in Hamden with my mom for most of my life. But graduated from Wilberforce, like you guys, right?
All right. Yeah, absolutely.
The governor in the house.
Big shout out.
I did go to St. Mary's for 2 years, but I ended up graduating from Wilberforce. I also grew up going to Catholic school. I started out at St. Rita's, and then went to St. Mary's, graduated from Cross, went to college, Marymount College in Tarrytown, New York.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I studied fashion merchant. Yeah. So so always a Catholic school except those 2 years in at Cross. But I went to school for fashion merchandising.
Okay.
And it's interesting how I even got into that field, but my mother was a shopper. So, I wanted to become a fashion buyer. It didn't turn out that way. I mean, I worked in retail for many, many years. But it kind of stemmed from my mother always wanting to shop. She was a woman of class and style. And so when you talk about the event, I hope I, did it the way she would want me to do it.
Absolutely.
But to go back to college, I did study abroad, and so I studied at London College of Fashion.
Beautiful.
So I had the opportunity to go to Paris and Rome, and why I was over there. So I was excited about that.
What was that like as a young person from New Haven, Hamden area, going abroad?
Yes,
I know it was amazing.
Dawn, you're a show off, first of all, but go ahead. You're a show off. You're showing off, but go ahead.
No. Okay, wait, hold on. If you want me to show off, I do have props. I'm a person of props, right?
Bring it on.
That's right. I went to London College of Fashion, right? Wow. And I actually made a fur coat while I was over there.
You should have came on with that on. Yes, Dawn. Well, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that was like 40 years ago, so this does not fit anymore. But,
wow. Amazing.
So the opportunity to be able to do that was pretty amazing. Yeah. So and the funny thing about it, when you say a person from the New Haven, Hamden area, when I came back, when I graduated from school, I did go to a lot of career days and went to a lot of the schools, elementary schools, high schools, to let children in our community know that they could do something like that too, because it was an
Yes.
amazing experience.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It is. And there
Absolutely.
was something that people in our neighborhoods and communities didn't know that was a
No,
possibility, that was even a thing.
absolutely
So
not.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, no, no. Go ahead. Finish your story. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, so when you went to study that, and I'm sure they have it in New York as well. But so I had the opportunity to make the fur coat. Some people made shoes. Some people made hats.
Mm.
So just the opportunity to learn how to do that. I mean, you don't meet somebody every day that can do that kind of stuff. So
No.
it was pretty amazing.
Wow.
Nice.
So, okay. So, are you the only child, or you have siblings?
No, I have a little brother.
Okay. Okay.
Oh.
So,
Listen, I have a little brother who's 6'5".
it's
I was gonna say we always call them our little brother. My brothers are taller
Right.
than me, but they're my little brothers. Yeah,
okay.
I get
Yeah.
All right.
it.
So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we're 14 years apart. So I was an only child for a long time.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Now, so you graduate college. You come back from abroad, London. You come back to the States. You come back to New Haven. And the relationship with your mom, like, what does that look like?
We've always been close. Like I said, she was a single mom. My dad wasn't in my life, even though his family is.
Okay.
And
Wow.
Mhm.
we did everything together. We went on vacations together. We did everything together. And my little brother and I, and actually, his nickname is Gigi.
Gee.
Ah.
I love it. I love it.
His
I
re-
love it.
yeah, his real name is George, but we've always called him Gigi.
Oh wow. Hey Gigi out there.
Yeah, so he was born on December 23rd. And so as a 14-year-old, you can imagine I was not happy about that. So
You had
I
your
was like,
mom to yourself all those years,
right,
right? Mm-hmm.
right,
I
right. And
love
so
it.
I said, Mom, I don't know what it's like to have a child, but I really hope you're going to be home in 2 days. So that's right, because our Christmas has never been, the same since. But I talked to him every day. We could not been be
I
closer.
love
14
that.
years apart, you would never know the difference.
I
So,
love that.
um, yeah. So at the time, I wasn't happy, but now I'm just thrilled to death to have him in my life.
I love
Mm-hmm.
it. That's a beautiful. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So okay, so you and your mom spend a lot of time together, and I don't want to jump into it, but I do want to jump into it. So, what does that look like when your mom sits you down and say, "Baby girl, this is my situation." What year was it? How does that look?
So I actually I had just gotten married. My son was born in 91, so it must have been 91. So I was pregnant with my first child.
Okay.
And it's interesting because her friend that was at the pink tea, her coworker had come over to she had brought her over to my apartment at the time. And I think they were going to a class. I think they were going to Spanish class or something, and so that's why they were together. And actually, my brother was at the house with me
Okay.
because my mother was going to the class, and he was young. If I was married, let me see, he might have been 14 at the time, 12 or,
Mm-hmm.
or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. He was pretty young, and so she came to the house and said that she had breast cancer and the treatment that she was going to get and all of that. And my brother said, well, Mom, I think you're going to be fine because I can't think now what the president's wife's name was, but one of our presidents had breast cancer and she got through it. And so my,
Mm-hmm.
my, my little brother felt pretty hopeful that my mom would get through it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was her first diagnosis with cancer. And I remember me delivering my child and her being at the hospital, but recovering
Okay.
from her
Mm-hmm.
own
Mm-hmm.
surgery and everything. So, it was pretty devastating, but you know, she made it sound hopeful that she was
Mm-hmm.
going to be okay.
Right,
So
right. So she always kept a level of hope, keeping your spirits lifted, you and your brother.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That
yeah.
was
Mm-hmm.
that was Barbara Bush, by the way. Correct.
Okay, yeah. So
Yes,
that's
Barbara
what. Yeah,
Bush.
yeah, yeah. So
I
yeah. So
remember
that's
that.
what.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
and it was surprising because I was like, well, how does this little kid even know that? You know, but, um,
Yeah.
but, you know, that being his first experience with breast cancer, you know, for him to think back on that was, you know,
Mm-hmm.
pretty remarkable to me. So,
Absolutely. Positive. He was speaking faith even at that
Right,
age.
right, right.
Speaking life into her. I love that. So what you said the first time, did it go away and it came back? Or do you want to talk? You said the first time?
so,
I'm sorry.
my mother ultimately, passed from breast cancer, 12 years later.
12. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it
So
never came
she,
back in between those 12 years, is what I'm asking.
no,
Okay. Okay.
no,
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
no.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you're bringing me to that, I think about all the things that we were able to experience and enjoy in those 12 years.
Yes.
So, and what I mean by that is, so my mother ultimately died from metastatic breast cancer at the age of 56.
Oh, God
Okay.
bless.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was 39, my brother was 23. But all the family gatherings and things that we did within that time, and you know, the birth of both my children. And, you know, we had retirement parties for my grandparents and cookouts and, you know, we just did so much as a family when you think back now in those 12 years that we had her, not knowing that at some point we were going to lose her. But
Right.
it just seems like when I look back at it now, that those 12 years were just everything.
Everything. You
Oh,
just got
man.
to live and enjoy and be with one another.
Absolutely.
So having been through that experience, how did that take you to the place of inspiring and encouraging so many others?
Absolutely.
So, when my mother was diagnosed the first time and she was in the hospital, my grandmother had come up with this chart that, you know, my mother did not, I mean, as most people, they don't like being in the hospital. My mother didn't like to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely didn't want to be in the hospital alone. And so my grandmother had come up with this chart, and it had time slots for everybody in the family to
Yeah.
be
Take a
with my
shift.
mother.
That's right.
That's right. We all had shifts, right?
Love it.
So, my grandmother's sister actually was the one that was retired, and so
Mm-hmm.
she spent the most time. My mother's aunt spent the most time with her, and so she eventually, so she was able to care for my mother, but then she eventually got breast cancer, and it happened so quickly, and she ended up passing away. It was devastating to my mother because this woman who had taken so much care
Wow.
and love for her, my mother wasn't able to reciprocate, and
Mm.
so um, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of it moved my mother in the direction that she didn't want any woman to ever have to go through that alone.
Yeah.
And now here, my mother had survived breast cancer, so she felt that if you caught it early enough, that you didn't have to die from breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the beginning of Sister's journey.
Okay.
She certainly knew that she needed some support, and she wanted someone who looked like her, other women who looked like her,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't want other women to go unsupported because she had gotten so much support. I mean, here she had, you know, a chart with ships on it, right?
Yeah,
And
right,
so
right. Everyone
um,
doesn't have that.
Wow.
yeah, everybody
Mm-hmm.
doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have that, and so she certainly wanted to make sure. And then when she was looking for support, she didn't know anyone who was a breast cancer survivor at the time because nobody talked about it,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
right? So when she started to say that she needed support, all of a sudden, her mother-in-law was a breast cancer survivor. We
Wow.
had other aunts that were breast cancer survivors, her godmother, her cousin. I mean, you know, all of a sudden, all these women that she didn't know were survivors were right here all around her.
Right,
And
Wow.
right.
so that's when she came up with Sister's Journey.
So tell us. Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
Teef.
no, no. I want you to hold
Yeah,
that
yeah.
question.
I will hold my
30
question.
seconds. So you said real quick, you said that's when it started in her mind. What year was that?
Right.
Originally, so before it became on paper, it started in her mind. What year?
It probably was around, I'm not sure exactly what year my aunt died, but like I said, my son was 90, was born in 91. So that was her first bout with breast cancer. And then probably about 1998, 90, because the first calendar was the year 2000. So she had to start working on it in 1999.
So
Mm-hmm.
98, 99. So that's when it
Mm-hmm.
started. That's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
beautiful.
So I was going to ask if you tell people about what My Sister's Journey does. I mean, I've had the benefit of seeing some of the wonderful events, but to people from different places, tell them what the benefit of it
Yes.
is and what you've done and what you've been able to accomplish.
So, well, let's go back for 1 second, and then I'll tell you tell you about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How I got involved
Yes,
is
please.
when my mother passed away. As you could imagine, it was devastating, and we won't even get to that extent. But my grandmother then, because we all did things together, right? Even though this was her organization, and but whatever my mother did, we all did. The family did. We were part of it, right? So my grandmother, we were being interviewed, or my grandmother was being interviewed because, here this woman had started this organization, because this is 5 years into her starting that she passed away.
Okay.
And so, um, there was a lot of media. And then also my mother was a councilwoman, council at large in Hamden.
Okay.
So a lot of people knew her. And so we were being interviewed, and my grandmother says to the reporter, we will continue Sister's Journey. And I'm in mid-tier. I'm thinking, we who? What does that mean, right?
That's called
As,
voluntold. You were
right,
voluntold to do
exactly,
this thing.
exactly. So, I mean, I'm not a survivor. What am I gonna do, right? So, with my grandmother and my grandfather, my family, they're very community oriented. So, my grandmother was a community organizer, so it was easy for her, right? But I was always, in the background. I wasn't out there like that, and so,
Dawn, what
but
were you
then,
doing professionally at this time? So you were working, doing your own thing.
right,
What were you
right.
doing?
Good question.
Right. So I was working in retail. I probably was working. I worked for G Fox. I worked for Filene's.
Hmm.
At that time, I may have been working for Caldors. I don't remember, but I was a regional manager for
Yeah.
Caldors, so I was like all over the place. And I was married. I had 2 kids. My mother would have never asked me to have done
Hmm.
this. My it would have never even occurred
Right.
to her that I could do this,
This was
right?
you had a
Because
separate life from this
right,
trajectory.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
right, right. I mean, she was my mother. She started Sister Journey. We supported her. We went to every event that she had, all of that.
Hmm.
But she would have never thought of it, of me, taking it over or whatever. My grandmother, on the other hand, didn't care.
Come on.
um, yeah, yeah. This was her daughter's legacy, and it was going to be a family legacy, whether I wanted it to be or not. Um, but it's been amazing, as you guys can imagine. So what the types of things that we do. So my mother has explained in plenty of videos that the support group came out of the calendar. Once we had a calendar, then the ladies wanted the support group.
Hmm.
So we've had a support group every single month in the last 25 years. We have not missed a month. And there's always like 10 to 12 women there consistently.
Wow.
So there was a support group. Then we started to have uh, annual cookouts, right? Where we wanted the ladies in the new calendar that was coming out in October to meet the ladies from the past calendars,
Mhm.
right? So that when we have things like the pink tea, they're not strangers. They know other people in the organization, right? So we started this cookout. So we have this annual cookout. Once we started it, never turned back. Always had them. We used to
Hmm.
have them at my house years ago, but. So we have the annual cookout. Then we had decided we wanted to have a Christmas party, right? So we have an annual Christmas party. So we have the cookout, we have the Christmas party. Um, then we thought my grandmother always wanted to do a scholarship in my mother's name. So, and there was one support group meeting that I was at, and one of the ladies, one of the daughters was there, and we had a guest speaker, and the daughter asked, well, what age do you go to get your first mammogram if your mother's a survivor? And I'm thinking to myself, you don't know that as a daughter of a survivor, right? I was surprised.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, we need another event.
Hmm.
We need an event
Information.
where we're just
Hmm.
talking to young women.
Hmm.
They need to know their family history, and they need to know that if they have family history, they can be screened early, right? And I think the rule of thumb is 10 years earlier than when your mother was diagnosed or your, family member. I had my first mammogram, my first screening at 28. My mother didn't, she wasn't diagnosed till 44. But when my mother was diagnosed, she wasn't playing with it. Like as soon as I could get screened, she wanted me to be there. So that turned into an event we call the Mother Daughter Scholarship Brunch. So we were able to do the scholarship that my grandmother wanted to do. And then we had this event where we could educate the community on knowing your family history and what does that mean in terms of being screened and being early, detected early. So what else do we do? We certainly do a lot of outreach whenever there's a health fair and someone, asks for us to come. So we do some really intentional things. We do things like shower cards. We give out shower cards. Gigi, have you ever heard of a shower card before?
No, tell me what that is. Tell me.
I, I feel like I should have more props. I don't have them here, but a shower card is just and gives you the instructions on how to do a self breast exam. So
I do know. I
yes,
do know.
yes. Okay. So yeah, so you hang it over your shower head, and you the ones that we give out. They have monthly reminders, so you punch a hole in each month to remind you to do your self breast exams, and those are really important because if you cannot get a mammogram or be screened before the age of 40, then what do you do? And we know that women get breast cancer before the age of 40. Right. So if you do your self breast exams, at least you have the chance of finding it yourself earlier. Right. And so we give out shower cards. There's a group in Connecticut called Are You Dense? And how important it is for women that when you're told that you have dense breasts, that you get an ultrasound. And we've been, this particular group has been very instrumental in making sure that there's laws passed that insurance companies have to pay for those extra screenings if you have dense breasts. What else do we give out in those? There's a group out of Milford called the Get in Touch Foundation. They created a Daisy Wheel. And so again, that's a self breast exam, but for younger women.
Right.
I'm sorry, for school age children, for like 12 and 13-year-olds. Again, to know your body. So get in touch. One thing my mother would always say is be an advocate of your own body. And so this really falls right in line with that. So the outreach, all the survivor get-togethers, the pink tea, obviously. And so the premise of the pink tea is certainly to unveil the new calendar, but to also recognize the women in their, being brave enough to share their stories, right? Because it's not easy.
Right.
And that's why for so many years, people didn't share their stories. But we call them stories of hope, because they give other people who are newly diagnosed the opportunity to see how long you can live.
That's right.
And it doesn't have to be a death sentence. So that has always been my mother's vision, is to have women share their stories, because it's not only for the women who read it, but it's also for the women who write it. How therapeutic is that to release all that, through your story. And actually, you talk about when we started our first cover, our first calendar was in 2000, and my great aunt was on the cover, and she was a breast cancer survivor, but she actually she lived until she was 104.
Ooh. Now there's a story of encouragement.
Yeah, you got some good genes.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how we haven't crossed paths. So I've been doing an event. I don't know if I've even shared this, but in the Newhallville and Dixwell community, a colleague of mine, her name is Elizabeth Knight, we've been doing a women's legacy of health. And we bring the Yale mammogram van to the community so that people have access. At some point, we'll have to connect. I would love to have you bring those resources to the community, those shower cards and information, because it's the same vibe. Like, let's be aware of what we have to do to preserve our health. Let's talk about it. All those things that you're talking about. What struck me is when you said that your mom found out all these women that were survivors, but nobody was saying anything. And so I love that what you're doing invites people to say there's no shame, and you're talking about it helps you and helps others. I
Helps
love
others, right?
that.
And Dawn,
Yeah.
what I would say for a male standpoint, exactly what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us, we know each other.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to say a loved one was battling X, Y, and Z. Guys don't do that. It's kind of like, yo, you stay in your lane, I stay in my lane.
Mm.
But for a guy like me, going to that dinner, first time, again, I'm
Mm-hmm.
being honest, I never even knew about the dinner. Again, not because it wasn't broad, I just out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when I
Right.
walked into this dinner, first of all, you had over like 700 people there. It was amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
again, read the screen if you get a chance to go to Sister's Journey. You and your team do an amazing job. So many people there. And they were able to tell their story. And it was so many different people I saw in the building
Mm-hmm.
that had either went through this or have a family member that went through it.
Yeah.
So for a guy, it kind of made me sit down and like, okay, your loved one went through this,
Mm-hmm.
or et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I
Yeah.
receive it. I receive it because it can happen to
There's
anyone's
so many.
loved one, family,
Absolutely.
sister, aunt, mother,
Mm-hmm.
wife, whatever, child.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'm sitting here listening to you speak, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, just
Yeah.
the story that you're telling. I want the world to listen and learn, and I don't want people to tune out from other states because it affects everyone, you know. And we have
Right.
people that watch it from
That's
all over,
right.
and I want them to tune in, and that's why I'm just sitting here quiet and let you tell the story, and
Yeah.
so people could Google and check it
That's
out. And
right.
this is just an amazing,
My
amazing.
sister's
Like
journey.
I said, we're excited to have you. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
anything else, G?
Yeah, I want to say because I have my cousins that are in Georgia that do watch this, and we lost my dear aunt, their mom, Cecilia Cunningham. We lost her to her biology expired, but she suffered with breast cancer and had a mastectomy and lived many years with great hope and offered just so much joy in our family. But I have to say that because I know that my cousins will be watching, and this is a
Absolutely.
part of our it's a part of our journey also. So I'm just so thankful that there are people like you doing this work to encourage and uplift those of us that have to be a part of this journey also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, the other thing too is, like Steve said, when he comes to something like that, men come and they learn
Hmm.
as well. And so often, I think, you and I talked offline, Steve, and
Yes.
I was saying how your wife's family had come so many years ago and left such an impression on me, because the young lady, her grandmother, that was in the calendar, it brought the family together. And you're like,
Absolutely.
oh,
Yeah.
Dawn, you have such a great memory. No, it's not such I have such a great memory. It left such an impact on
Yeah.
me that something we were doing, that this event brought
Touch.
families together
Hmm.
and brought men there, right? Like brought a son there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it brings nephews and husbands
Hmm.
um, and if you didn't know the story of your own loved one and what she was going through, you
Yes.
heard it from other people, and it
Yeah.
gives you a different insight
Yeah.
onto what they went through, and it makes you more supportive, I think.
Absolutely. A
Um,
Hmm.
1,000%. 1,000%.
yeah,
I love
So
that.
when Dawn had emailed me offline, and she had said she remembers my wife's grandmother's story because she was in
Wow.
the calendar, I was
Hmm.
like, "What?" Like I
That's
was floored,
amazing.
and she was like,
Yeah.
"I remember this story vividly
Yeah.
because I believe you said it was your first year taking over."
right.
Correct.
Right. And
Wow.
so and so again, it's things like that, right? Like you do all this work to get this event together, and then you're like, waiting to exhale. Whew, it's over. But when you see something like
Okay.
that, you're like, this can't be the last one,
Right. We
right?
got to keep
This can't
going.
be.
People are being
We got to
fed
keep
by
so
this.
right,
Absolutely.
Right.
right, right. So,
Hmm.
25 years now, right? I'm thinking, oh, I wanted to be like Oprah, right? At 25 years, that's it. But no.
Keep it
Um,
going.
yeah, you got to keep it going. So, I remember my grandfather seeing the calendar for the first time. He was like, he looked in the calendar. He's like, oh, I didn't know she had breast cancer. I didn't know I worked with her. Oh, that's my neighbor. Oh, I mean, it's people don't realize, right? Because you
Yes.
don't walk
Right.
around with a pink ribbon on your forehead.
Right.
Right.
So people don't know what you've been through. They don't know
Hmm.
your story. And so the storytelling is just so, powerful. And to think that my mother had this vision so long ago and we're still doing it, it's just remarkable. So, and then we're able to do it. And so, I come from first of all, I feel like I'm just a daughter, and I'm keeping my mother alive for me because
Absolutely.
I was so devastated. Um, but I'm doing it for so many people, and that's what I love because right after the pink tea, one of the ladies that passed away, her daughter called me and she's like, how can I get involved? And she says, I was just a little girl and I knew your mother. And I'm like, how old are you? She's like 30 something. And she's like, she knew my mother. And I was like, how is that possible? She's like, well, I was only 10, but I remember your mother giving my mother and I a ride to the photo shoot, when they were getting their pictures taken for the calendar. And she says, your mother was so nice to me. You know what I mean? So that obviously made me feel good. But here we are 20 years later, and she wants to be a part of this now.
Oh, that is
And
that is beautiful.
she knew my mother, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been pretty fulfilling. And yes, I do have another job, but
Right. But this gets to be a
but
passion project. Dawn, you talked about the calendar, but I don't know that the people that are listening know what it means when you say somebody's in the calendar. Tell
okay,
them what that
so
means.
more props.
There
There
we
you go.
go. There's the
Go on,
invite.
hold that out. Hold that up right to the camera.
Yes.
Perfect.
Oh, it's
Bring it down a
beautiful.
little bit. Bring it down. Perfect. There you go. Sister's Journey
Yes. Oh, and
2024.
it's gorgeous. So tell
Yeah,
us
Absolutely.
so
about
this is
that calendar. Yeah.
yes. So this calendar we just unveiled in October. So we always unveil them at the Pink Tea. And actually, my mother-in-law is Miss January. So
Oh,
what it is, and she was diagnosed 20 years ago. So it's a real calendar with
Mm-hmm.
dates, and so survivors and their stories. So how they found it, what their treatment was like, what support they had. Um, and how they found it is so important,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whether they found it themselves through a mammogram. All of it is to promote early detection, though, right?
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
can live with a breast cancer diagnosis if you get it caught early. And so we want to make sure that people understand that. So, and then on the back of the calendar, has pictures from our cookout and how we get together and that, and, so we always have that on there.
Can
But
people buy the
and then,
calendar? Can people buy
yes, you
it?
can.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can buy them on our website,
okay.
Great.
All right. All
That's
right.
journey.org. Yeah.
great.
So, Dawn, before we end, I would say this. I'm listening to your story, and what I take away from it is it was a divine intervention. What you said is the news reporter said, we're going to keep this going. You said you weren't even thinking about moving forward. I just think those words was said now because they spoke those words and your mind totally transformed to, okay, we're going to keep this going. I just think that's very powerful that news reporter said that because that's what you said on camera. You said a news reporter said, we're going to keep this going. And then your whole mindset changed to like, we are? Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. No. My grandmother
Oh, your
said,
Your
grandmother. I'm
grandmother.
sorry. I'm
no,
sorry.
I was too busy. Listen, I was too busy crying, right? And
Okay.
my grandmother said, and that took me like, what? Well, yes, yes. She says, we will keep her legacy going. And I'm thinking, I don't know who this we
That's
is,
Who's
but here
this
we
powerful.
go.
we?
So
That's extremely
yeah.
powerful. Dawn, I know a lot of people is watching this one. I want to thank you on behalf of myself and Gigi. I mean,
Absolutely.
this one right here was extremely powerful. I
So
mean, all of them are
powerful.
powerful, but this interview right here, I was excited to have you on. I even told you that off camera. Thank you for coming on.
And
Go
can
ahead.
people support the organization? I know you said they can buy the calendar. Do you do fundraisers? Do you accept donations? Do you need donations? What do you need that people can be a part of this if they're from far away?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely accept donations. We need donations. And when you talk about being far away, we've had women
Mm-hmm.
in the calendar from all over the country. We've had women from Puerto Rico. We had a lady in there from India. We've had women,
Yes.
from everywhere in the calendar. So you don't have to be from Connecticut.
Okay.
And yeah, with more support, we're happy to do. I mean, I have a friend from Kentucky who just called me and she wants me to come and talk to some women there. I mean, it's needed everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not just a
That's
Connecticut
right.
thing.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
I mean, Black women are our mortality rate is so much higher with breast cancer,
Mm-hmm.
like so many of the health disparities that we
Right.
deal with. But white women are diagnosed more than statistically more than Black women, but we will die more with higher rates. So,
Well, we want to encourage
so
everybody to go to your website, check it out, make a donation, purchase the calendar, support my sister's journey, right?
Absolutely. On behalf of Jazzy Conversations, I'm Teef.
And I'm Gigi.
Dawn, have a great night. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
thank you. Take care.
Take care. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Yeah, bye-bye.
She was just so pleasant. Dawn was an absolute delight.
She's so humble.
Oh my goodness.
She was like that at the dinner. She really didn't want the spotlight. They brought her
Yeah.
up last. The guest speaker, you said people from different areas. The guest speaker was from Houston, from Texas. And like I said, her and her team just, they've been doing this for 25 years. That team is very important. I mean, they did an amazing job. They stuck together. They all knew their roles. And of course, Dawn just likes to stay back, but she was able to just come on at the end and have a few words.
Right.
And I'm honored to have her on the show.
Yeah.
So that was one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite.
Absolutely. Yes.
G,
T,
let's get ready for next week.
Another week. This
Another
was
episode.
great.
This was great.
Ramp up again for next week.
Absolutely. On behalf of Jazzy Conversations, I'm Teef.
And I'm Gigi.
Have a great night, guys. Take care.